What an
I recommend skipping.
infuriating and sad day. I guess all the baby oil paid off for P. Diddy because he was too slippery for the justice system. I cannot believe it. They have now reached a verdict on all the charges, and he has been acquitted of the most serious ones. The Lord of Lube wiggles his way out of it somehow, despite overwhelming evidence to support the allegations against P. Diddy about the decades worth of evil, criminal activities and actions he has done, terrorizing the music industry and so many individuals. It seems like the Dawn of Dildos is about to get away with a slap on the wrist. And maybe not even that much. He has been found guilty on 2 of the lesser charges, which could carry a maximum of 20 years in prison. But I've completely lost faith in the system here. I have to imagine this is all just now horseradish and barnacles. I think he will probably just get away with like 6 months probation or some shit.
5 counts. We have a mixed verdict here. Again, count 1 as it relates to racketeering, not guilty. Count 2 as it relates to sex trafficking, not guilty. Count 3, guilty. Count 4, not guilty. Count 5, guilty.
Those 2 counts he was found guilty on, that was like Weenie Hut Jr. level charges compared to the rest, and it's something the defense, I imagine, was extremely pleased to have been found guilty on versus the rest. They were so happy, in fact, that reportedly P. Diddy even stood up and started clapping. Literally like a Tumblr fanfic. He stood up, started clapping, and then like his friends and family erupted into applause. Now the judge is considering what bail should be, and we move on to the next stage, which will be the sentencing for these 2 charges, which carry a maximum of 10 years each. He's not going to be seeing the maximum. He probably won't even be seeing the minimum. They might just let him walk away with being forced to play League of Legends solo queue for like 2 months or something, and that'll be his punishment. It is such a fucking joke what just happened here. I actually still can't believe it. It is sickening. So I truly wouldn't be surprised if he just fully walks free from this, and I guess we can expect the grand reopening of Puffy Flavor Camp. Everyone out there, sleep in fear. Make sure you're sleeping on your back, because if you sleep on your stomach, P. Diddy might just break into your house in the middle of the night and shove a dildo up your ass. It is still just so fucking unbelievable to me. I thought this was dead to rights. Not only because of the overwhelming evidence, but also his team wasn't exactly a cohesive unit. Like, not that long ago, one of his big lawyers quit, saying he could no longer, under any circumstances, represent him, serve as a member of his council. And somehow, they were still able to squeak a win out from between P. Diddy's greased butt cheeks here. I don't know, did they promise, like, freak-off invitations to the jury? I have no clue. I don't get it. I really, truly do not understand how this just happened.
It's a mixed verdict, but it is a stunning victory for the defense. The Mann Act, these charges, these were the easiest for prosecutors to prove, the lowest hanging fruit, merely required showing that state lines were crossed for the purpose to engage in prostitution. We saw a lot of evidence on these charges, did not have that element, Laura, of force, fraud, or coercion. And this carries the lightest sentence of these charges. It is a maximum of 10 years. And keep in mind, when you're talking about maximums aren't the rule. They are the exception. They're for the most exceptional and severe cases. So now you're talking about a sentence that's potentially in the lower range with time served because he's been behind bars.
Yeah, again, he's definitely not seeing the maximum penalty for those charges. I would be surprised if he even saw the minimum. My guess would be, and of course I haven't passed the bar, so this is just fucking Neanderthal spitballing. My guess would be they'll weigh the time served behind bars throughout this case as like you've learned your lesson, and wiggle their finger, don't do it again, and give him some really light punishment. Very, very light sentencing. And then when he's out on bail or full-blown walks free, I imagine baby oil will go extinct. And I predict that there will be a freak-off the likes of which the cosmos has never seen. It'll be filled with so much degeneracy that it will give birth to Slanesh in the warp. In real life. It's going to be a Warhammer 40k event. It's just so fucking despicable, man. It really is.
The fact that these sex trafficking charges, specifically with respect to Cassie Ventura, means that the jury was convinced by the defense, at least with respect to reasonable doubt, that the commercial sex, i.e. the freak-offs, were not connected to some of this violence, that there was not that force, fraud, or coercion element. That is by far, from a penalty perspective, the most serious. It carried a 15-year minimum. So that is a huge distinction.
Really feels like if you've got enough money, somehow a lot of those very serious, very well-documented things just never really seem to stick in court for some reason. It's so weird how that works. It's so odd how we see that happen so many times. I don't know. Something seems a bit fishy there. From everything I've seen from a couple of lawyers discussing it, the big thing here seems that the RICO charges weren't conveyed well enough for the jury to understand, and that it could have been, like, difficult in the first place as a potential overcharging on P. Diddy, so that was like an uphill battle. Obviously, I don't understand all the nuance to how that shit works in court, like how it all shakes down the fucking Rube Goldberg machine that is arguing RICO charges. I'm not Saul Goodman. But outside of that, the lawyers also expressed how stunned they were that he was found not guilty on the sex trafficking by force and coercion. It seems like, at least from the lawyers that I've read and watched from, they were also very surprised that somehow the jury wasn't convinced on those. That one really did seem like a pretty big slam dunk in the case. Like, at least most sane human beings would think so, but somehow it didn't stick. Somehow it didn't shake out that way. To be found not guilty on those is baffling. Actually baffling. And I went to a live stream where some lawyers were talking, and reading the chat, it will make you lose all possible faith that there's real people online. There are so many people that are elated, celebrating that P. Diddy is free, and saying he should go as far as suing the government for the charges they brought against him. Unironically, I saw someone donate saying, does P. Diddy have a case against the government to sue them for this? Holy shit. What? I don't know how so many people have been poisoned by stupidity. Like an action, there must be some kind of hole in the ozone layer that's letting pure concentrated stupid come through, and it is just destroying neurons at an alarming rate. Such an unfortunate outcome. There's a lot of people that are now going to need to be looking over their shoulder here with this P. Diddy verdict. One of them being a bodyguard who said if P. Diddy walks, he's going to need to go into hiding. I think that's not an exaggeration. He most likely will, in order to stay alive. This is a dangerous man with an extremely well-recorded history of horrible shit he has done, who is now getting let off very easily here. Now, if you're a sane, sensible person, you're probably pretty angered by the outcome, but we don't live in a world where everyone's sane and sensible. There is a not small group of people, the Free Diddy drones, that are very, very pleased. They're very excited that P. Diddy is going to be most likely getting let off super, super easily. They are elated right now, these fucking weirdos. They're acting like they're part of the crew, part of the ship, like they'll get the invite to the next freak-off. And they are so happy. Fucking weirdos out there. It's crazy how anyone can view this as anything other than a disaster. A fucking travesty where the justice system just failed so many people. Yeah, I'll stop ranting and raving about it. That's really about it. See ya. There's a mystery afoot, so grab the Scooby snacks and let's get to work. A pool at a Quality Inn has been mysteriously turning green 12 separate times. This isn't how God intended. This is not natural. They suspect this is intentional sabotage at this particular Quality Inn, but when authorities check the surveillance camera footage, they find no evidence of any culprits going to the scene of the crime or anything like that. How is that possible? Are they being attacked by an invisible man? Is this a situation out of The Happening where the plants are fighting back and they're responsible for the pool turning green 12 times? What's the motive? And most importantly, who really is behind it? It's very clear that there is a supervillain loose here, and only I'm qualified to crack this case and get to the bottom of it. When it comes to mysteries, I'm like L from Death Note. I figured out what happened to D.B. Cooper. I even solved the mystery of who shit in my pants when I went to Halloween Horror Nights in middle school. There's nothing I can't solve given enough time. But luckily in this case I didn't need to. In fact, the authorities pieced the puzzle together and it is so fucking wacky I can't wait to share it with you.
Cops pull up to a shocking sight. A pool where the water has turned neon green.
What in the world? What is that?
Sandra Woolston, the co-owner of This Quality Inn & Suites in New Jersey, was baffled when her motel pool mysteriously turned from clear water to this.
The voiceover for this one makes it sound like an old infomercial. Turned from clear water to this! Ew! But luckily with OxyClean, we got it right back to a clear blue. I don't know why he's, like, exaggerating all of the statements in this manner, like with his intonation, but it's really enjoyable. It makes it, like, even more gripping in my opinion. But anyway, that's the story in a nutshell. This Quality Inn, for some reason, keeps having their pool turn green. And the only way to fix that is for them to keep draining the pool, which is extremely expensive.
I watched it turn green in front of my eyes.
Somebody sabotaged my pool. My pool is yellow as my guests can go inside the pool.
I broke down. I didn't know what to do because with all these kids waiting to use the pool, but they couldn't go in.
The pool had to be drained and refilled with clean water. 2 days later,
The vandalist is back again. Our pool is green as a grass.
it happened a total of 12 times.
So either this place is cursed, where they've built it on top of a Hulk burial ground and he's getting his revenge by turning the pool green with gamma radiation, or there really is a practical jokester that's really taken a liking to turning this pool green for some reason. That's all the information we have to work with so far. There are some more clues we'll get to in a moment, but let's start to piece together potential narratives together as a thought experiment. Perhaps whoever is responsible for sabotaging this is a previous guest at the Quality Inn who recently had a negative experience with that pool. Now, if I was on scene during this investigation with my monocle, magnifying glass, and pipe that I was smoking, the first thing I would ask would be if I could have access to the guest registry over the last couple of weeks, and if there'd been any reports of complaints from the guests about the pool. Assuming, of course, the Quality Inn keeps records on their complaints, it would give me a narrower list of suspects that I could focus on. I'd then set up an interview with each name on that list, and I'd do a little game of good cop, bad cop, where I'd be the bad cop and the good cop would come in with like a soda from McDonald's. I'd invite them to drink the soda. When they take a sip, I would then inform them that what they just consumed was truth serum, which means they could no longer lie. Then I'd finally finish it off with the brain buster, the most important question: did you do it? And then I'd gauge their response from there.
This is every damn day, man. Look at the pool.
That's like neon yellow color.
It was just, and the entire pool was engulfed.
What was turning the pool green? Here was the first clue. An object she found at the bottom of the pool.
I'll be honest, that object looks like some kind of extraterrestrial being. If you put a picture of that object on the r/alien subreddit, they would gobble that shit up as true evidence of like an alien brainstem or something. That would give me no clues here. I'd start really thinking paranormal about this. Like, oh, maybe there's not a person behind this. Maybe it's a cryptid or something. I don't know what the fuck that is. That looks disgusting. Whatever that is. It must be whatever turns the pool green. Some kind of like dissolvable mesh or some shit maybe that, you know, distributes the green dye to the rest of the pool. But yeah, that shit is yucky.
But when police reviewed the motel surveillance video, they found nothing suspicious. Here's Stephen Fabian.
So how did the pool turn green? Well, cops say the culprit used a drone like this to hover over his target before releasing a concentrated packet of dye.
The dye is actually a life-saving device used for ocean rescues.
When they broke the magician's code and revealed how this was most likely done, it blew my tiny little brain. I realized at that moment I would never cut it as a detective trying to piece together a complicated case. That whole idea never even crossed my noodle as a possibility. That the reason someone didn't show up on surveillance camera yet the pool still turned green was because it was transported via drone outside of the security camera's, field of view. That would have never been something I thought of. That is actually so devious. It's admittedly a pretty clever plan here, because then the actual person responsible for it is a long distance away from the scene of the crime, so there's not a ton of breadcrumbs to follow. This is one of those galaxy brain maneuvers that you see fictional villains do in media. But somehow, the cops did catch him. So I'm not only impressed by the method they used here in order to distribute the green dye to the pool, but also the fact that they got caught.
So, who do police say was behind the attacks? They arrested 45-year-old Patrick Spina, who owns a heating and air conditioning business close to the motel. The motive? Cops say he's a prankster. He didn't have much to say when we caught up with him.
There he is, that scoundrel. So, they've got him. Apparently, I will say that they didn't do a great job of explaining how they really connected him to this. So apparently he owns a business nearby, but when I first heard that, I thought it'd be like, oh, it must be a competing business and this is his way of sabotaging a competitor, trying to like take them out of business or financially harm them. But apparently they believe the motive is genuinely him just being a quirky little jokester. I also needed to dig a bit deeper in here to figure out how exactly they connected this drone to this individual. So apparently they had spotted it over the Quality Inn on September 1st and then just followed it back to where he was and then arrested him. So they did catch him red-handed with his hand in the cookie jar here, but the motive of just being a prankster is incomprehensible to me because this is not a prank. This is a dozen times. This is just genuine vandalism and trying to ruin that business. Because it's super expensive to keep fixing that. Not only did they have to keep draining the pool and refilling it, but now they're going to have to refinish it too, since the green dye is harmful to the pool as well. And so the frequency and all of that makes it seem like it's not really a joke, because I mean, what's the haha moment? It's just this fucking goofball. Like, there's no way he's treating this like a joke. There had to be a deeper motive to it that I don't think is pranks. Though I guess I could be totally wrong here, since pranks in the modern age are just legitimate degeneracy and actual just harming people half the time. So maybe it is possible that this is just his idea of what a prank is, but it really took a big toll on the motel's owner because it is super expensive.
I just hope that this bonehead paid for what he did and he never ever do anything this dumb and so stupid to impact other people's livelihood.
The suspect is charged with criminal mischief and faces fines as much as $30,000. The hotel owner says that prank cost her at least $20,000.
Yeah, so the mystery has been solved. He is facing a charge for this and hopefully will be responsible for paying for all the damages caused to the motel. A happy ending here, but what a wild little adventure to go on because, again, I don't know how you'd ever really piece this one together if you never saw the drone in the surveillance camera or anything. They must have just got lucky that they saw the drone over the Quality Inn at one point and then just followed it back to home base. Yeah, so now we can comfortably close the books on the mysterious case of the pool turning green. Just wanted to share that with all of you. That's about it. See ya.
Shut down. Double kill.
Do not worry, my dear spirits. You will all be safe in my collection.
It's now been over a month since I primarily switched from streaming on Twitch to streaming on YouTube. I spent about 5 or 6 years exclusively in the trenches of Twitch streaming, and now I've recently done a cannonball into the deep end of the pool of the YouTube ecosystem for streams, and I just wanted to debrief on the whole thing because I've been getting asked a lot, not only by chat, but by friends of mine, what the big differences are, what makes one better than the other, which I prefer. And I thought this would be an interesting topic because for a lot of people, Twitch versus YouTube for streaming is a lot like Coke versus Pepsi. They're very similar, but there are subtle differences that make people prefer one over the other. And for streaming, it's obviously Twitch that's the preference. And I just kind of want to go over this whole situation here, let you all take a bite from an apple of my tree of knowledge, and just bestow upon you the sage wisdom that I've been gathering since being on YouTube. Because I am the one that walks between worlds. I'm like fucking John Constantine. So let's just start out with the obvious differences that you'll hear everybody mention. YouTube streaming has no culture to it. It is very bland. It's very vanilla. There's no real identity to YouTube streaming chat culture. And that's not something that you can really teach or artificially integrate into a platform. It's like basketball. You can't teach height. There's certain things you can teach about basketball, but ultimately, there are certain things you can't that'll make you a better basketball player. And for YouTube streaming, that is its chat culture. And let me break down exactly what that means here, because if you don't watch Twitch streams, then what I'm saying right now is a giant nothing burger of mumbo jumbo. Like, what the fuck is chat culture? Well, on Twitch, since it's been around for so long now, the community that watches Twitch streams has grown together and created a very unique identity for itself, where it has this DNA that's shared across every streamer's chat on the platform, with inside jokes or certain emotes that'll be spammed at certain times during the stream. And it doesn't matter who the streamer is, the chat itself is always in on the same general jokes or emotes, and just, it's hard to like actually explain. But if you've ever been on Twitch or streamed on Twitch, you'll know what I mean. There are just certain things in there where instead of just spamming like full conversational texts in a Twitch chat, they'll sum it up with like one line and an emote, you know? There's just so many ways that Twitch chat expresses itself in a way that other platforms don't, and frankly, other platforms just can't. That's not something that you can bring to your platform. It has to happen organically over a long period of time. Twitch has been around for so long, and despite being absolutely massive, the community itself still feels very tight-knit, which makes the streaming and chat experience on Twitch just overall more engaging. On YouTube, it's like Sasquatch. That doesn't exist. And another thing, Twitch does a really good job of making the chats readable. This is a huge thing, actually. Even in the biggest Twitch streams on that platform, you can read the chat because they're smart in that they hold messages for a very small period of time, so that way they come in chunks, which makes it legible. And on YouTube, they don't do that. Ludwig compared it to a sink faucet being turned on, which I think is a beautiful description of it, because it's just this endless flood of gobbledygook. Like, you can't read anything on a YouTube streamer's chat that's popping off because they don't hold anything. It's just real-time blasting you with information, and if you try to read it, your brain is going to blue screen. It's incomprehensible because they don't hold it, which makes it detrimental to the health of a stream and a stream's community, because if you can't engage with your community, they're often not going to stick around. This one actually has a super simple solution I am shocked they haven't implemented yet. Just put the rectangle in the rectangle-shaped hole here. Just hold the messages for a second. Just let them marinate for a second before sending them out, so that way it's not just this endless Star Wars scrolling text of things that nobody can read. Now, I know Ludwig also has an extension called Truffle, which aims to make the chat experience on YouTube more in line with the chat experience on Twitch, and it works pretty well. It is a band-aid to a bit of a boo-boo that YouTube still hasn't, cleaned out properly and fixed, but it does help. So I know there are tools, there are options here, but I feel like YouTube could definitely work on the simple things like the messages. The only thing that it can't really do here is create a chat culture. That's something that's just going to have to happen organically. YouTube can just provide tools and provide a better chat experience from a functionality standpoint. Now, there's two other big differences. The one that everyone's going to mention is discoverability, and I do think that's still correct. Now that I've been on YouTube for a month, I can say with confidence, nobody is finding your stream unless they are already on your channel. There's no way to find streams on YouTube effectively. If you browse the godforsaken wasteland that is the YouTube streaming tab, looking for any kind of interesting stream will be a daunting task. Like, you'd have an easier time having a threesome within the next 10 minutes than you would finding a single interesting stream that you might enjoy. The only way you find streams on YouTube is if you already watch the person that's streaming it. It is extremely difficult to find anything that's of interest to you. And trust me, I've done a lot of exploring here. That needs to be improved. On Twitch, I do think discoverability has suffered over the last few years, but that's just because of the oversaturation of streams in general. But on Twitch, it's far easier to find what you want. You go to the category of the game that sounds appealing, you'll look at the titles, like, oh, this one sounds interesting, fingering butthole for $20. I'll take a peek, is he actually going into the chocolate starfish here for donations? I mean, what's going on here? So then you click on it, and it's a channel you've never seen before, and you maybe give them a chance, and maybe you end up liking the stream. On YouTube, that's not going to happen. You just don't have that happen. It currently just feels like streaming is a bit of an afterthought here. There are some problems that I think could be addressed and could be fixed pretty quickly, and this is one of them. It's been in a pretty bad state for discoverability since its inception. It really feels like it's a secret. Like YouTube is keeping streaming a hush-hush whisper, like just a secret functionality. I think there's a large number of people that don't even know YouTube streams exist. I really think that. Because again, the only way new faces can even find a stream is if it somehow gets recommended to them. And in that case, it's just a gamble. You just have to hope that for some reason you made it into their algorithm and then they saw that you were streaming and maybe wanted to give it a try. But other than that, you're not really going to be seen by people that don't already know of your existence. So as a new streamer just starting out, YouTube is absolutely not the platform for you, I don't think. You'd be streaming to a fucking graveyard. Now there's one other thing I think Twitch does significantly better than YouTube, and then I want to get into what I think YouTube does better than Twitch. But on Twitch, subscribers is done much better. When you subscribe on Twitch, you all know what it means. It means you're giving money to a streamer. Twitch has something called Prime, where you can get a free sub to a streamer a month and they get $5, and it costs you nothing. It's an unbeatable service, and something YouTube legitimately can't match unless it wants to start offering an equivalent for YouTube Premium members. So like, if you have YouTube Premium, then you get one free membership to a YouTube streamer per month, so it'd be the same thing as Twitch Prime, but on YouTube. I don't see them doing that because it is such a massive net loss of money for the company. Twitch continues to offer Primes, but they're not doing it with a smile on their face. They're doing that with a big old frown. Like the fucking fattest frown of all time. They're praying that you don't remember to use it, because when you use it, it just costs them money, and they get nothing in return for it, other than just offering a legitimately unbeatable service, and it's good for the streamers, and it keeps a lot of streamers sticking around, because the Primes, I mean, that's a tough thing to beat. So YouTube doesn't have that, but another thing YouTube doesn't have is an identity to its memberships. When you hear subscribe on Twitch, you immediately know what it is. When you hear membership on YouTube, you're left scratching your head going, what are you talking about? Because even when you're looking at the stream, there's no membership button. But then when you're actually watching the stream, you'll notice there's no such thing as the membership button. It's a goddamn lie. What you need to locate is the join button, which in and of itself is kind of in a suboptimal location. It's right next to the subscribe button there, and on mobile, good luck finding that. It's a game of Where's Waldo. But then you click the join button, and then you become a member. But why call it join? That's very confusing. That's super convoluted. Like, if I didn't know what that button did, I would never touch it. I'd avoid it like the plague. Because what are you joining? You joining a Discord channel? You joining the anime club? Like, what are you joining? Joining a newsletter? Or joining a community tab for the channel? Like, it doesn't tell you what it actually is. It should just be called membership or something. Like, it should show you exactly what it is. Because right now, it's a mystery game of what join does, and nobody plays the game. No one's clicking that button. Now, those are like the major differences that I think Twitch does better than YouTube, but I want to talk about some of the things I think YouTube does better than Twitch, because there are a few. The biggest one for me, and I think it is an incredible quality of life change to streaming that I think is a great thing for viewers, it's the ability to rewind a stream. So, on any YouTube stream you go to, you can go back. You can go back and see what you've missed and catch up that way, or just watch like parts of something if you missed a little component of it. You can go back in a stream, which is fantastic. And it's also good for streamers because then new viewers that come in while you're streaming won't inundate you with questions you've already answered, or won't inundate you with questions about something that you've already done earlier in the stream if they can just rewind it and check before they ask. I am a big fan of the ability to rewind streams, and another thing I'm a huge fan of on YouTube, as opposed to Twitch, is the bitrate. YouTube allows you to stream at a much, much, much higher bitrate than Twitch. I can't believe Twitch is still currently limited to the bitrate that it's at. YouTube doesn't have that problem, so streams generally are looking better on YouTube. That one's super simple. It's just on the technical side of things, YouTube streams look better. I also do think that it runs better on mobile. Twitch mobile to me has been an absolute fucking joke of a service for a long time. YouTube mobile works really well, and that includes watching streams, at least from the few times I've watched streams on my phone over the last month or so. It has been a very smooth experience. I haven't had any problems, whereas on Twitch, anytime I fire up the app to watch on mobile, I had an issue with something. So YouTube is definitely a little better on that front than Twitch. And another thing that I think is really much better on YouTube than Twitch is VODs. VODs They exist on Twitch, yeah, but no one really checks VODs. In fact, most people that watch a streamer on Twitch will end up watching their VOD or clips from it on YouTube. So YouTube is just a place to go for on-demand content, and that extends to streams as well, because once you're done streaming, it goes to your channel in the live tab. And it's also monetized a lot better than on Twitch when it comes to the VOD content, so if you do ads during your stream, there's more value, you get more out of that than you do on Twitch, and that extends to the VODs, where your VODs are automatically monetized with ads and certain breaks during it. So you get a lot more revenue-wise from your on-demand content on YouTube versus Twitch. But again, that only applies if you've already established yourself on YouTube, or like TikTok and push to YouTube. You've already got an audience on YouTube. That only applies in that case. If you're just starting, this means nothing. Like, because this is just a bunch of fish paste. You won't be found easily as a YouTube streamer, thus your VOD monetization isn't going to matter at all. Also, one more thing, this one's not a big deal, but it is kind of cool and a little silly. You get to choose your own thumbnail for your YouTube streams, whereas on Twitch, it's just random moments from the stream. In fact, I had one time when playing through Cyberpunk that my cock slider, like when I was playing around with his penis to change the size of it, was my thumbnail for a while. And it's not like you have any say in that, it's just Twitch generating those thumbnails for your stream. YouTube, you have full control over it. I haven't really been utilizing it to its full potential. I've just been getting like really up close to the camera and making like a face or just staring blankly at it, which kind of is like a jump scare when the notifications go out. But yeah, the ability to make your own thumbnail for YouTube streams I think is actually a pretty good thing. I think it's cool. But it also brings me to another problem. I just mentioned notifications when my stream goes live. That's not commonplace. Notifications aren't exactly the norm for YouTube streams. Very few people get them. I was actually talking to Danny about it like 2 weeks ago. Danny has no idea when I go live, and he's subscribed with the bell and all of that shit, but still, that notification doesn't really get sent out. Whereas on Twitch, you know what you're there for. You're there for streams. So you'll get notification for streams. YouTube, you're not really there for streams. Nobody's really there for streams. They're there for the VODs, their video content. So when a stream notification is supposed to go out, a lot of people either won't get it, A, or B, don't really know like what the fuck is going on, because it's a kind of long notification. It's the red icon, channel name, stream now, and then title, and then thumbnail. So it's kind of a lot, and a lot of people will immediately disregard it. So it's hard to let people know, even if you already have an audience on YouTube, when you're actually live. It makes it difficult to find the live streams for a lot of people, which is a complaint I've heard not only from Danny in real life, but from quite a few people who do tune into the streams from time to time, because they just genuinely don't know when they go live. Whereas on Twitch, that's never really a problem, because everyone knows when you're live when the notification goes out. So another thing I just wanted to briefly mention here at the end. But anyway, let's get to the conclusion now. If you're someone that's just starting streaming and wants to grow as a streamer, Twitch is 100% the platform for you, no doubt. But if you are someone that already has an established YouTube audience that wants to just dabble in streaming occasionally, it's certainly a viable option, for sure. I will say that I think Ludwig was also right about something else, where he said YouTube as a streaming platform is one that's best served with intermittent streams as opposed to daily. Whereas on Twitch, the most important thing you can do is just be alive. As a Twitch streamer, you find the most success through consistency. Just being there is enough to, over time, grow or maintain an audience, because a lot of people go to Twitch just for comfort, background noise or something. So as long as you're there for that, you'll find success through just consistency. YouTube is kind of the opposite. No one's going to YouTube streams for the comfort or anything. They're going there for the novelty of it right now, because again, it's not why you go to YouTube. So if you see a stream and you're like, oh, this sounds interesting, then you check it out for a little bit, and you need to capture those viewers' attention. And usually if you're just doing daily streams, you're not coming up with innovative new creative ideas for every stream, so there's a good chance someone tunes in and they're not interested in the game or whatever you're doing, so they just leave. So Twitch is really good for daily streams. YouTube, you'll probably find more success if every stream is a like unique one. A big thing to think about when streaming on YouTube is, does this stream work well as a VOD? And if the answer to that is yes, then YouTube is a really good streaming platform, because you can stream it live, you can engage with the community live, and then it lives on as a VOD, which is very monetized effectively, and can enter the YouTube video algorithm, so you can get new eyes on the video content itself, assuming, of course, it gets picked up and it's like a good VOD. Twitch, that doesn't happen. Once the stream is done, very few people are going to look for the VOD on Twitch. They'll look for it on YouTube first. So all in all, my impression on like the big picture thing is anything that works really well as a live stream is going to perform better on Twitch than YouTube, most likely, because more people outside of just your core audience can find that content on Twitch while it's live. But once that live stream is over, that VOD content will work much better on YouTube than it will on Twitch because, again, no one's really watching VODs on Twitch that often. Most of the time, it's getting eyes on YouTube, and YouTube itself can pick it up, and they do monetize it in a much better way than Twitch does. So that's kind of like the overall impression of everything I've had so far on both streaming platforms. Again, I've only been streaming on YouTube consistently for like the last month and a half, whereas I spent 5 years on Twitch. So maybe my impression of YouTube will change over the next few months or the next year or so. We'll see. But I just wanted to report on all of this. I will say that I think YouTube streaming right now is a lot better than it was when I streamed on here 6 years ago or whatever it was. They have made a lot of improvements, that's for damn sure. But there's still a lot of wiggle room here for more improvements. There's still a lot of room to grow for them. So yeah, just wanted to put all this out there. That's really about it. So yeah.
The beautiful pangs of resurrection.
In 2 weeks, there has been 2 major cases where video game taunting has become a massive issue online. Last time it was in an Apex tournament where one player teabagged his teammate and the entire team got banned from all future tournaments that were hosted by that org. And before that, it was a player on Twitter making a giant thread about how teabagging in Valorant is traumatizing and is the same thing as real-world sexual assault. Even just mentioning that Twitter thread is painful, like gargling glass. Comparing video game teabagging to sexual assault just reflexively makes the human body want to vomit. It's so fucking gross. But the point is, over the last couple of weeks, teabagging in video games has become like the ultimate evil to some people, like Voldemort here. If you don't know, and I already know you all do, but I just want to explain it a bit further, teabagging in games is when you go over someone's body and you crouch up and down a few times. That's it. That's all. That's what's starting all of this controversy. And today, we reached the boiling point that's confirmed that we live in Weenie Hut Juniorville. 2 players were banned for talking about that Twitter thread about teabagging and sexual assault. They made posts saying that it's very silly and disrespectful to compare teabagging to sexual assault, which it objectively is. Anyone with half a brain would agree that it is outright disgusting to compare video game crouching to fucking sexual assault in the real world. It is asinine, and it's just downright wrong. And today, 2 pro players were officially banned by Riot Games for their statements on that subject. They made posts saying that it's wrong to compare crouching up and down in a video game to sexual assault, calling it silly, calling it stupid, and they received competitive bans from Riot Games. And not only that, they got doxxed by Riot publicly. Their full names in the headline of their bans. And their names, they didn't have public. They didn't want their full names out there. Instead of just giving their gamer tags or their their handles online, they gave their full fucking names. Just a huge, stinky, embarrassing blunder from Riot here. I think it's been, what, like 2 weeks? I made a video called Horrible Tweet I Can't Stop Thinking About, and it was all about that huge Twitter debate, wrong word for it, that huge Twitter clownery where someone made a giant thread all about how teabagging in video games is sexual assault. I'm sure you all remember that, right? A Twitter user made a giant case for why teabagging in Valorant is the same thing as real-world sexual assault and it's traumatizing, this and that. Very silly stuff, very goofy. That was top-tier Chef Kiss's goofiness. And today, as of 7 hours ago, it turns out the account that posted that initially was affiliated with a professional Valorant team, as I understand it, and 2 people that also clowned on it on Twitter, who were professional Valorant pros, got banned for it. So, I'm doing more than Riot did. They straight up doxed them. So, the 2 pros that obviously joked about that horrible take on teabagging being sexual assault, they got competitively banned, and then Riot doxed them. They said, like, in order to protect the identity of the person who started the tweet, we've kept their identity to person A. And then in the next sentence says, but these two pros, and gives their full name, both of their names, not like their gamer tags or anything, just their full names, and said, but these two are now banned for vulgar language against this user. We will not accept it. One of the people made a post talking about how this dox has actually affected them in the real world. So apparently, like, a classmate of theirs saw this announcement and then asked if that was them that they were talking about. So it's already, like, their identity being leaked like this has already had negative implications for them in the real world. It's unbelievable. All over teabagging equals sexual assault nonsense. What tournament are they banned from? They are banned from the entire Valorant Pro League. Like, they cannot be affiliated with anything Riot sanctioned. Got banned for talking shit. They weren't even, like, talking shit against the person who made the post. They were just pointing out how outrageous it was to claim that teabagging is the same thing as sexual assault. Like, they weren't even, like, attacking the actual poster. Scribble faster. I'm trying to. By the end of this, I'm going to end up with, like, a repeated stress injury to my wrist from having to censor their names so many times here. Because Riot couldn't be bothered. It looks like a goddamn CIA classified document with a bunch of, like, redacted all over it. Yeah, so this is the start of their statement here. So that, again, that Twitter thread was started by a member of Galorants, apparently. I'm not super familiar with Galorants. From a glance, I looked them up. It seems like it's like a Discord community that's all about, like, welcoming all kinds of people in there. I suppose. I don't really know. I don't think the Galorants had anything to do with this ban. I don't think they mass reported these two players or anything. So I don't know for sure, but I don't think they did. This seems like it was Riot just putting their own dick in their ass. So I think their Galorants is probably hands clean of this. But yeah, so the two players made posts on Twitter regarding that Twitter thread, and Riot is saying that it was targeted harassment and vulgar language against members of that community, which is a violation of their rules. So they've been banned from Riot-sanctioned events for... Oh, well, one player's been banned from Riot-sanctioned events for 3 months, and then the other one I think is 9. Yeah, 9. This was one of them. I believe Dawn got 3 months, yep. I don't think I need to say much more. I shitposted on Twitter, and apparently it's vulgar language. Thousands of other people, including pro players and streamers, have done it, but nothing for them. Below is all the evidence that Riot sent me. Feel free to look at them and find the vulgar speech that I used. Oh, and then in regards to the doxing, thanks for leaking my full name. People from school are texting me about it. So this is one of them. Pretty standard dunk. Nothing alarming there. Nothing that's gonna have you go like, oh, too far. And then again, this one's just, it's not that deep. I don't know why Kurapika's here, but that's kind of epic. This one's just a meme. Like, it's not even vulgar language, so it doesn't even fit. And this one, I guess, could be construed as like a threat. I suppose. I don't really know. So even if you really want to play hardball, like you can't say naughty things to other members of the Valorant esports community. Like, they really didn't. They didn't even say anything vulgar. It was just like general tweets. Like, hey, this is stupid. This is dumb. I want to quickly just come in here like a jump scare and let you all know that I actually talked to both Dawn and Razora, the two people who were banned here, to get a deeper insight on things. I asked them if they like actually did target or harass the girl who initially posted the thread, like if they went in her Discord and started insulting her or shit-talking her in her Discord or anything like that. And Dawn confirmed everything that they were punished for was the Twitter posts. Dawn had never gone into the Discord or even mentioned the girl or anything like that, never attacked her, harassed her, anything like that. And Rizora also said something similar. However, Rizora did make like videos about it as well as talking in the Discord about it, getting into like arguments in the Discord. So Rizora was a little more direct with the community, whereas Dawn only made Twitter posts. So there, in both cases here, I don't think there's any argument for any like actual harassment or targeted attacks. It seems like both of them were just attacking the point that she was making with teabagging is sexual assault, which is a terrible point to make and deserves to be insulted and criticized, because that kind of thinking is not okay, and it is a complete slap in the face to actual sexual assault victims. So I don't think there's any case to be made that Rizora and Dawn were like maliciously attacking or ruthlessly harassing the original poster of that Twitter thread. Why is there like no one talking about this? That's what I was surprised about. I thought this would be big news. Like there's an actual war on teabagging going on right now in gaming. It's fucking wild. And I'll address this right now, since people keep bringing it up. Yes, I really ate my own words here. I'll come here and publicly eat shit and say I was wrong. There was a case of someone getting teabagged in a real-life sport this week. Paddy the Baddy Pimblett teabagged his opponent after choking him out in the octagon. So, yes, teabagging does happen in real sports too. And you know what happened to Paddy the Baddy? The guy that got teabagged was laughing, Paddy was laughing, the commentators were laughing, and the whole world found it to be entertaining. It's just fucking video games where virtual teabagging is apparently the devil.
You said this week you knew he was going to shoot for a single leg. Looked like you'd done your homework.
See? Like that's... Again, I like it, it's good, I like where his heart's at, but the technique is not great. That is amateurish technique at absolute best. Rookie shit. Only 2 pumps, and for some reason has his hands straight up. Like, that's just not even proper teabagging technique. But I do love that he pioneered it into the real world of sports. And I fucking love Paddy the Baddy. I think that guy's amazing. Probably tired. Yeah, I mean, again, heart was in the right place. We just gotta work on that technique for the next one. But, back on topic. Point is, teabagging is not a big deal, no matter how desperately gaming companies as well as delusional gamers want to pretend it is. It is certainly not grounds for a fucking ban. And these two didn't even teabag or anything. They're just talking about how stupid it is to compare it to sexual assault. Splitgate's crowd cheers when you teabag. Oh my god. To the member of the Gallerants that made that thread, I pray they never find Splitgate, because they would absolutely melt down. They would think that is an actual hell on earth situation. There's an entire game mode in Splitgate where you teabag your opponent to confirm. They would never be the same. But I think this next section is really great to highlight where Riot's head's at, because this is where they protect the identity of the initial poster and then immediately dox the other two. This is where they give like the timeline of events. Beginning June 24th, a player identified as Player A to protect their identity engaged community members on Gallerant's Discord server. June 27th, the discussion evolved into an argument spanning multiple Twitter posts. I'll throw the guess out here. I know Riot got investigated for, gender discrimination stuff at the office. Like, they had a huge workplace culture problem at Riot where... We even talked about it on the podcast. There were stories where, like, one of the higher-ups at Riot used to go cubicle to cubicle and fart in the employees' faces. Like, they treated it like it was a crazy fucking frat house. And I believe it was like $100 million lawsuit or something. I mean, I'm on the internet right now. I can double-check. I don't know what the verdict was on it, but it became kind of a big deal. And I think what's happening now... Oh, the verdict's in. They've agreed to pay the $100 million in settlement. Okay. Makes even more sense then. So I think what's happened here is they're trying super hard to overcorrect for things. So they're going really fucking hard in the paint here. Like any minor issue on Twitter or anywhere, any of their leagues, they're trying to like make a grand statement like, we are not sexist, we are safe, and it's backfiring, because it's the exact opposite. That's a good theory. Yeah, I mean, it's just a game theory at the end of the day, but I think the timing makes sense, since they agreed 2 days ago to pay this out, and neither Dawn nor Rizora even knew that this ban was coming. Seems like they may have just like jumped the gun and tried really hard to look good quickly. To be fair, is either get cooked by the person who started the thread for doing nothing, or do something and get cooked by the community. They chose the wrong side. I don't think so. The person who started the thread hasn't said shit since. At the end of the day, it was her opinion, which she's welcome to have. I think it's a terrible take, as did most people. But she publicly posted it on Twitter for everyone to opine on. And I don't think she made a big stink about it. So Riot not doing anything wouldn't have been a problem. Plus, Riot didn't hit everyone that dunked on it. Don mentioned 2 other pro players in the scene that didn't have any repercussions. It's just Don and Rizora. I actually got to talk to both the players on stream who gave me a deeper perspective on exactly what happened. So, Dawn is the player that received a 3-month ban for this, and she talked about how her posts were what triggered Riot Games into taking action. But after Riot Games looked at the posts, they contacted Dawn saying that there were no problems, she was in the clear, and then today, out of nowhere, they just decided to ban her. She had no warning, had no idea it was coming, and was even told that it wasn't coming, and that she was cleared. It wasn't a big deal. So I don't know what exactly happened there. And then the other player is named Rizora, and she received a ban from Riot for 9 months. For similar reasons to Dawn, however, Rizora also made YouTube videos, like talking about how dumb it is, the whole statement on teabagging being sexual assault. So Rizora made more content around the statements than Dawn did, and as such received a longer ban. So Rizora went a little harder on the statement than Dawn, and Riot punished her harder. It's such a fucked up scenario that shouldn't have happened under any circumstance. Neither Dawn nor Rizora knew this ban was coming. They received no warning from Riot Games. They found out when the rest of the world found out, and were shocked to see that their full names had now just been put out there by this company. So this whole thing was just a complete fuck up from Riot. There shouldn't have been bans in the first place. The players should be allowed to express their opinions on Twitter, regardless of what it's about. They shouldn't be like hall monitoring their pro scene to make sure that everything is squeaky clean and fine and everyone's playing nice. And for some reason, it was only Dawn and Rizora that got banned for this, even though there were other pro players that were dunking on it as well. So it's very weird that they targeted just 2 people here out of the entire crowd of people that were talking about it. So I don't understand exactly what's going on, but one thing's for sure, Riot definitely missed the mark here. Also, both Dawn and Rizora said that with Riot doxing them like that, they've received many messages from classmates who saw the headlines and are now reaching out about it. And it's just been a real nuisance for them. So Riot's definitely just made a fool out of themselves here. This was entirely avoidable. It should have never even been a discussion on whether or not Dawn and Rizora should be banned. The answer should have been a resounding no. Shouldn't have even been a question. But even after they decided to ban them, I don't know how the decision came about to put their full names out there publicly. That's such a violation of like trust and privacy. That makes no sense to me. It's not like this is like a legal lawsuit or something like that, or like a actual litigation in court. They didn't have to fully name the defendants here. They are victims of Riot Games now. Riot Games just doxed them, which is fucked up. So this was just a really bad look for Riot, like completely. Hopefully they'll go back and overturn this outrageous decision, but I have a feeling they won't. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about this, and that's about it. See ya. I just wanted to say thank you all for joining us here today.